am happy to introduce Hank Matamore and Jody Edwards. They sit on the Sonoma County Juvenile Justice Commission. Hank is the past chair and current commissioner. He's also a surrogate grandpa, for the Children's Village in Sonoma County. He's a former foster parent, and he's an ongoing mentor for several young men in transition. He's a past CASA. We had somebody from CASA come and speak about the court-appointed special advocate program. He has mentored or helped bring kids through that program, and he's still in touch with them. He's the author of 4 books, and for 20 years was a columnist for the Daily Republic newspaper in Solano County. Jody is also on the commission. She is the Women's Recovery Services Board President, retired human resource manager for Hewlett Packard and Agilent Technology. She's a biographer and did 3 biographies for 3 different folks. And she is the board chair of the Children's Village of Sonoma County, and she's also been a member for over 10 years. So a lot of youth involvement, and we're really happy to welcome Hank Matamore and Jody Edwards.
Thanks so much for having us here. We're here Hank and I are going to share this. We're going to try to zoom through some slides and share some information for about 20 minutes and leave 10 minutes at the end, but we'll take your questions any single time you want to ask them. So the commission has a mission, as most organizations do. There are 2 sets of kids that the state of California takes responsibility for. There's 2 sets of kids, and they're called wards of the court. And there's 2 sets of them. One set are dependent kids, and the other set are delinquent kids. Dependent kids are those kids that are, through no fault of their own, their parents or guardians acted inappropriately with abuse and neglect, and they were taken from their home and are in the care of the state of California. And the other set of kids are delinquents who are temporarily, the state of California has custody over them. And we'll tell you more, we'll find out more and tell you more about them. But those are the kids that we, Hank and I, volunteer to look out for and to specifically ensure that those children are safe and are treated with respect. So there's lots of organizations out there. This one isn't, in fact, your standard nonprofit organizations, which are absolutely wonderful. This one is a state-mandated commission. Every county in the state of California has one of these commissions, and there's some information about that commission. So who are the kids we serve? As I mentioned, this is the idea that there's the dependent kids and the delinquent kids, and I'm going to let Hank talk more now.
What I'd like to do is we talk about the term delinquent kids or wards of the court, dependent kids. I think it's important to put flesh and blood on these kids and to give you an idea of who they are. Who are the kids? When I talk about the kids, I think of a kid named Katie, who I work with at one of the group homes. And Katie was playing soccer for the first time. She's 11 years old, didn't have any functional parents at all, and hadn't for years. This is about the 3rd group home she was in. Anyway, she was out to play in a soccer league, and the thing she sort of called over her shoulder was, "Are you going to stay and watch me, Grandpa Hank?" And I said, sure I will. But in a way, I think it kind of sums up what we do as a commission. We're there to be there to watch over the kids, make sure they're safe, things like that. But I think the importance of each individual adult in the lives of the kids can't be measured because they haven't had that in their lives. When I think of Katie, and then I think of Richard, who was a young man who came from a foreign country, was adopted by people from this county, and unfortunately they abused the kid. And he was taken from them and brought to the Children's Village where he stayed. And Richard was literally didn't know his parents, had no idea who they are, who they were. So he comes sort of almost like a displaced person, you know, to a country, and wasn't taken care of by the parents who were going to take care of him here in this country. And yet he's had some rough places in his road, but right now he stayed with me for a couple of years just as like a foster kid. And now he's registered at the TC. He's got a job. I think he's going to make it, you know. I think Richard's going to make it. I think, so when I think of a ward of the court, I think of flesh and blood like that. I think of Katie and I think of Richard and many others. If we have time, I've got stories to tell you about some of the kids.
It's so important that you get a picture of these kids. Hank was talking about the set that are the part of the dependent kids. And you know, our point on this slide was it takes a village. These are our kids. These are Sonoma County kids that we're talking about that we care about in different ways. And it takes a village. It takes nonprofit organizations like the Children's Village of Sonoma County and other group homes, but it also takes volunteers that do what we do, and I'll direct you more there in a second. So Hank was talking about the dependent kids. You had a chance to look at this slide. The key here the key point on this slide is that there are approximately 500 dependent kids in Sonoma County. And again, those are the kids that are in the system through no fault of their own. And that number, I've been involved with that set of kids for about 10 years in this county, and that number doesn't change. In the last 10 years, 10 years ago when I asked what's the number, it was 500, and it hasn't changed in my 10 years working in the system.
How many kids would you estimate are not in the system that could use those services?
Hank, I don't know how to answer that question.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. No, I think it's. Are there kids who are being parented by dysfunctional parents?
Is that your question?
Is that what? Of course, there's.
Because the answer is it's probably 20.
Yeah, there's many. Yeah.
So that's the dependent kids. I wanted to have you get that, and then a snapshot. And so of those kids, where do those 500 kids go? Okay, so they're taken by the state of California. Where do they go? So, almost 20% go into either Valley of the Moon, which is a temporary shelter, or group homes, other group homes directly. The majority go to foster homes, guardians, some family, kin care, and then Hank was talking about a couple that are in independent living. So then there's the delinquent set. So those are the kids who got there because of some action they took. Approximately 392 is the number of how many juveniles are managed by the probation department. And of that number, a lot of them have electronic monitoring devices or other ways to care for them or are on probation. But there are about 70 at the juvenile hall and approximately 25 at the probation camp, and those we are responsible for. And when I say we're responsible for them, I mean this is what we do. Here's what we do as a commission. We inspect group homes and county facilities. The juvenile hall, we go out there regularly to the juvenile hall and inspect and see what's going on. And Hank's been the direct liaison there. He reads reports monthly, or is it more often than that, reads reports about incidents that happen to ensure that things are safe for those kids and that they're treated with respect. We report inspection results and recommendations and make that available on our websites and make it available to all the key people in the system. The Sonoma County Head of Probation, the Sonoma County Head of Department of Human Services, so the key people that are in the system. And here's some more things we do. We investigate complaints, like we have our phone number posted in all those facilities, and if a youth or a youth's guardian or parent calls us, we check into what those complaints are about. And inquire in, etc. So those are some of our responsibilities. So how do we fit in the system of juvenile justice? I think the key point here is we are volunteers that stand for the kids. We respect all the professionals. There's a whole set of professionals that are in this system, including the juvenile court judges, including the social workers, the probation officers, the community care licensing, there's a whole set of professionals that are in this system. We're the only lay people and volunteers, and we act as a bridge between the community.
Yeah, I think the magic word can be volunteers with these kids, because kids are being treated, they feel they're being treated by paid people, and the injustice to the people who serve and as house parents and staff they're basically underpaid and very good people. But still, there's something about you come in as a volunteer that makes an impression with kids. You do that. And also, when we inspect, we're not going there and just checking out if the fire extinguisher is up to date and if the medications are good. We look at those things too, but our main purpose is to bring to the kids a sense of people in the outside community care for what happens for you guys. And so we always sit down, we always pick at least a couple of kids in each house and have a heart-to-heart with them. Say, do you feel safe here? You feel okay? Are things going okay? How's the food? How's that? We just come, and if when they first hear it, they feel people from outside, they don't know who we are, and we're asking them to sort of give us their heart. And it takes a while, but because we are volunteers, and because we're not being paid, we're just there for them. We can be very effective that way. We can find out what's really going on in a house.
So where do we do that? We do that at these facilities. Some are privately operated group homes, some are county operated facilities. You see the list. That's where we go. We have a liaison that's a representative from our commission that's appointed to each one of these that goes regularly to inspect the houses. And as Hank says, we're not just looking to make sure that somebody's locking up medication. There are truly professionals for that, that do that. But we go and ensure that the house is, if our kids were in that house and living in that house, to make sure that our kids would be comfortable there. That's what we're looking for. And then the part that Hank was mentioning about talking to the kids directly. And we've got some quotes from the kids that we want to share with you. But this is the set of houses. So there's the quotes that we want to share with you. So regularly we go to the juvenile hall, and when the juvenile hall is just not one person responsible, it's multiple. We take a team out there and divide into teams and talk to different set of kids. And here's some of the things. First of all, how many of you have ever seen our juvenile hall? Have you ever seen that beautiful building out on Highway 12? Okay. Okay. I meant as a professional checking it out. Anyway, our juvenile hall is the model for the state of California, not only in the physical plant, but also in what it does. That juvenile hall has attracted the Boys and Girls Club to come in and have a chapter of Boys and Girls Club that's in there, and it serves as an incredible motivational pull for the kids that are in juvenile hall to behave and do well because they want to go to that Boys and Girls Club. The weight workout room and the person that's there that's leading sessions for them is incredible in terms of his knowledge and how he interacts with the kids. And anyway, so our juvenile hall is really, I got into this because of the dependent side. I really am totally passionate about the foster kids. I wasn't excited about the delinquent side to work on that, but I've learned so much, and it's really been effective, and I'm so glad that Hank talked me into it. And here's some of these quotes, and Hank's got some stories.
Yeah, just I reiterate her words, the juvenile hall here is excellent. Also Valley of the Moon, wonderful facilities here in the county. So I think among the counties, I've been around to several other counties who have juvenile justice commissions. And I think we can hold our heads high in Sonoma County. We're doing a good job. That doesn't mean for a second that the kids don't need help, don't need an extra mentor. If any of you just have room in your hearts or in your house for a foster, to take a foster kid in, it would be wonderful. There's a big shortage right now, and kids get one of the awful things about being a ward of the court. Isn't that an awful word? Ward of the court. Anyway, it's talk about being cut off from families, and you're a ward of the court. But anyway, is that they don't have a sense of family. They've been going. The average of kids going from group homes to foster homes can be as many as 9 placements in their lives. So they get bounced from place to place. They don't have any sense of continuity. They've lost, if they go from one group home to another, they've lost their neighborhood, they lost their school, they've lost the friends they had. And also this sense of failure that they have. They're being kicked out. Oh, must have been my fault. They got kicked out of here, they got kicked out of there. And it's sometimes not their fault at all. It's just the fault of the system. Yes?
What kind of rules are there to send kids back to their original parents, even if they were taken away with them?
Well, you know, if it's at a group home, it's pretty much up to the group home to say yay or nay about the kid that's placed there. So they initially, when they're placed, they'll talk over with the social worker. The social worker will look for a placement for one of the kids. Okay, and then you find a place in a home that seems like, yeah, this might be a fit. Let's put them in there. But once the kid is there, and you know, honestly, because these kids have been traumatized a lot, they will act out. You know, they don't know. And so if they act out, run away, try to start a fire, you know, the things the behaviors, in other words, that can be a threat to the group home. Group home said, no, we don't want them. And it's perfectly up to them. They'll tell the social worker, no, you know. Then routinely the kid will go back to the shelter, the Valley of the Wind shelter, while another placement is arranged for them. So the kids feel, talk about discontinuity in their lives, to go from like 9 different placements, you don't feel at home anywhere. It's almost like a displaced person, you know, that comes from a foreign country. It just has that feel to it. Yeah.
When does the program start at age 0? And how up does it go to 18 or 19? What's the age range you serve?
Oh. Generally speaking, Valley of the Moon will take kids 6 years and up. And group homes will more likely take them a little bit older. Yeah.
Actually, when kids are taken out of their home at whatever age they are, the social worker will place them. Valley of the Moon temporary shelter is where they almost all go immediately, but under the age of 5, there's immediate emergency temporary care easily found. So the kids that are under the ages of 5 go to a family. It's easy to find that kind of immediate temporary foster care. But everybody else goes to the Valley of the Moon and then is placed from there, whether it's in a group home, back with their family. And there's rules about that the social workers in the law speak to about what a family needs to do to earn their children back. And so there's a whole process, because I'm not sure if we ever answered your question. Now, have we answered questions?
When are they out of the system?
Oh, that's your question. Okay, yes, it's 18, but there's been, in the last 2 years ago, there was passed a law, AB 12, that enables kids that are 18 to 21, if they're doing a certain set of things, employed in college, et cetera, they can get additional funding and support to help them from the state and the federal government. So, yes.
On that line, I work in SIY Village for the older kids of all.
Yeah.
And they talk about all their placement. We know sometimes if the kids' behavior, we can understand why they move from home to home. But what about this external force that sort of grab the kids and take them? makes that happen? You know, where a kid is in a foster home, and all of a sudden they're told, oh, you have to go someplace else. That's not the case.
Well,
Yeah, I'm working with a kid right now who's in that category. He's a perfectly good behaving kid, but this week he's going to be sent to another home, and part of it is the internal organization of the agency involved in this. He happens to be 14, and they really need a 14-year-old in another place. So sometimes the kid is not in consult. He's told what to do. Now, when he's 14-year-old like that, he's consulted, but it's with pressure. You know, the social worker said, I really think this would be better for you if you went over.
He would have a CASA advocate too, correct?
Yeah, not every kid has a CASA, but
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
which
Would
they
there
did.
be the best interest of the child, some overwhelming influence in every part of the dependency law, et cetera? That if it's not the, I mean, if the county pressuring or the agency pressuring, say, take this other place,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily in his best interest.
No, that's
Who
true.
would speak to in the system?
Yeah, well, you know, aside from CASAs who do, that's not our
We're not
it's not our primary role. We might be aware of something like that and speak for the kid and say, and talk to the staff there and say, wait a second, you know, he looks like he should stay here, you know. But we have no authority, unfortunately, in that area. And that is a weakness of the system. System ain't perfect by any means. Juvenile justice system or the adult juvenile system isn't. Yeah, we know a little bit about that.
So just to finish up, we have two more slides. One is, so on this slide, what I wanted to emphasize on this slide is, I think it's been three different years that I've been out to juvenile hall and talked to kids there. These are a couple of snapshots of what Hank and I heard from those kids. There's some of those kids that are having, that their goal is to turn these kids around so they're not in incarceration for the rest of their lives. And they're doing a heck of a good job in many cases, because some of these kids that are in jail have a much more functional life and a much better life as a result of the education they receive, the instruction they receive, etc. So anyway, that's what I got between the lines of some of these quotes. And then at a group home, and again, group homes are typically for the dependent kids, okay? But at a group home, you get kids. So, you know, here's one. I had dropped out of public school. Mom said I had to come here. I'm taking you to, she was such a problem at home because of her behavior that Mom threatened to take her to juvenile hall, which you can't do. But that's regardless, you know. It saved my life. School can be fun. This girl was very obese, got teased and bullied hugely in school for whatever reason. I believe in her case, I believe in that girl's case, she cut herself as a result of that. She just had, you know, a lot of issues, and she, you know, maybe had been abused and neglected earlier, whatever. This girl was at 15, did I say? No, approximately 15 at the time we talked to her, and she loves school now. And so at this group home, it really did, it saved her life to be at that particular group home. So anyway, those are just some of the kinds of comments that we get, and not everything's rosy. We helped to, the commission specifically helped a few years back when I was not a part of it yet, to have a group home have its license taken away from them because of behavior. So not everything's rosy, but we wanted to give you the rosiest comments. So commissioners, if you're interested parties, can go to our website. It's a volunteer 4-year commitment. You take an oath in front of one of the juvenile court judges. So our call to action is join us or help the system some way. Some of you already I talked about being mentors to youth. Working at SAY is fabulous. Anyway, so you could become a commissioner if you're interested, or there's lots and lots of ways to help, including as a Rotary. We aren't asking for money, but on the off chance that you had $1,000 extra bucks and wanted to sponsor our essay contest that we hold every year, that'd be great. But we really aren't looking for that. Really no.
Pretty good, eh? The low key one. I wanted to close with a couple of, and then if you have any questions, just a couple of stories that I've run into with kids. One is about a four-legged counselor that I like to talk about. He was a big basset hound that I had at the Children's Village when I was there. And one of the kids called the house parent and said, I have some real problems. I'd like to talk to Grandpa Hank about it. Can I come over? And so the house parent said, well, sure, if there's something you need. So he comes over and he sits on the couch there in my cottage. And I said, so what's going on, Mike? What's the trouble? Well, nothing much, really. Meanwhile, the basset hound had gotten on his lap, and he's petting the basset hound. So I said, are you sure there wasn't anything you wanted to talk to me about? No, I'm really doing fine. No, he stayed about 10 minutes, and then he gets up, and the dog gets up, and he says, thanks very much, Grandpa Hank, for all the help. Of course, the help was coming from Penny, our dog. And I've had cases like that. One, a real poignant one for me, and not a serious case, but a 12-year-old girl who wanted to have a bedtime story. You know, she was at the group home, was at the Children's Village, and she was very smart. This particular girl, unlike many of the others who have economic problems because of all their placements, this particular girl was reading right up to grade level. She was fine. And so she wanted a bedtime story. And, you know, 12-year-old girl, something, maybe a little old for that, but anyway, that's what she wanted. And what she wanted is, she wanted the person, the house parent or grandpa or grandma, to read the story to her. And what she was asking was stories like Cinderella and Black Beauty and things, stories that typically would have been told to her by a mom, that she had a good mom back there when she was 5 and 6. You know, so it was, to me, it sort of characterized in a way, or sort of summed up the need of these kids to have parents in their lives, or at least significant others who will like the story I told you about in the beginning, like Katie, who will, are you going to come and watch me? Are you going to come and watch really important stuff for kids? And part of what we do.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of things wrong with the system. Can you tell us about something in the last 5 years that's improved, or that you've got a part in improving?
Yeah, I think the AB-12 has been huge, because before when a kid reached 18, that was it, out you go. And you know, many of us have been parents ourselves, you know, I have, and I know what it was like when my kid turned 18. I couldn't just say goodbye. You know, there's no way. Those kids aren't ready to do that. But that's what was happening. So now at least there's a little cushion in there that they have where their housing is, as long as they're working or going to school, they're eligible at least to get a subsidy for their rent. And money's put aside for them from savings. And so they have a chance at least for a period of 3 years. And some can be extended even more, up until 24. But most of them, just 18 to 21, get this. So I think that was a huge thing.
We're done. We know.
Well, you're not quite done. Two things. Number one, this is Pinot for polio. John Boletto bottled a special set of wine, which we passed out, and it's excellent. But it also comes with a contribution to the polio. So that's for you. And a little task, you have a door prize. So if you would just draw a ticket and read the last 4 digits, please.
2801.
2801. Okay, Rod.
Got God on this side.
Let's see.
So we're done, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Put that there. That must be sure it's. And get you to pick one of those. Always the same thing. Rich, get
Are you
ready.
going to the party tonight?
Lots of bucks. And nice Pinot Gris, thank you, Gabe Farron, for making it grow right. Okay. Now it's working. Michael Phelps, you have a Chuck Tilbury joke for us today?
I do, but I need a microphone. Hold on. So two couples are out for dinner and enjoying themselves, and one of the men is telling his friend that he took a really great memory course. And he's talking about the course and all the good things it did for him. And then he wants to tell his friend the name of the course, but he gets kind of stuck and he can't really remember it. So he asks his friend, what do you call that kind of flower? It's red and it smells really good and it has thorns on it, on the stem. And his friend says, oh, you mean a rose? So the guy says, yeah, that's it. And he turns to his wife and he says, say, Rose, what was the name of that course?
That's good. Okay.